Hello there and welcome. I'm Uncle Badger and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be looking through another one of my tarot decks. This deck is, I think it's more of an oracle deck that just so happens to have the same number of cards as a tarot deck. It's got its own system, but it's still the length of a tarot deck, so oracle deck. Yeah, this is one of a series of videos that I'm going to do about my tarot decks and oracle decks, and I hope you enjoy it. This one is quite a famous deck. Partly opened it, got the flap up just for quick release. It's the Fairy Oracle by Froud and Jessica, was it Macbeth? It looked like Macdelf at the bottom. Thankfully I'm not an actor, so I don't have to refer to her as Jessica the Scottish play. I hope no one's taken the rip out of her too much, made fun of her too much for basically being Jessica the Scottish play. Because this is one of my favourite decks. There should be an order of what's inside here. Quite a big box, this, and it's one of the favourites for if someone is doing workings with fairies and things like that, because yeah, you have a proper hardback book. Yeah, it's good and thick, and I'm trying to get that the right way around. It's reversed the opposite way for me while filming. So me being able to view me while filming, it's reversed. But when I've uploaded it and I'll play it back, it should be the right way around again. So yeah, so it's sometimes hard for me to quite read. But in here, what you find is a good set of introductions. I mean, it's quite very sturdy. I mean, I think this is even still about that much, and I don't think we've even hit the cards yet. There we go, the 0 card, and that's one that you can do yourself. And one thing that the deck sort of prides itself is it is trying to actually develop a relationship with the Fae, with you. It's these are pre-existing pictures that Froud has painted, and Jessica Macbeth has helped him out by putting extra meaning, talked with him about the cards. Apparently, I get the idea that Froud actually saw these beings, and he's done the pictures, the illustrations based on beings he's actually seen. So yes, and Froud, you might recognise the name. He has worked with Jim Henson on doing character concepts for Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. So he did the Gelflings and a lot of the goblins for Labyrinth. So yeah, you might recognise his work. I rather like his work. It's not gloss, but there we go. Not gloss pictures. But yeah, we'll go through the stuff properly, but you know, you can still tell what the pictures are, the corresponding pictures are. And it tells you quite a bit about each fairy and their nature. I get the idea that Froud does actually sort of see these beings, and he did I think he did 2 books, the Squashed Faery books with Terry Jones, with Terry Jones from Monty Python. Terry Jones pretended to be an old lady who'd see fairies at the bottom of a garden, and she'd play with them, and she wrote a book about them, and Brian Froud helped out. Yeah, here we go. You find all of that, and you go into a conclusion. Just reading the oracle for others, quite a decent sort of sized sort of thing. I think that's part of a conclusion. Right, so that's part of a conclusion. And you have a decent sort of bit at the end that includes advice on how to do readings. Yeah, readings for others. It says across the top here. What else? Try and read it backwards. Can't quite see any other headers, but it gives you structures for tarot readings and stuff like that. Quotes, and there are quotes from Brian throughout this. Fairy counselling. Listen to the voices of the wind in the trees. It has a message for you. Yeah, and there's recommended sources. If you're on the internet, recommended books as well. Steps to a good read. About the author. Yeah, connecting, centering. Yeah, you get a good set of advice and stuff in the book. It's a good thick book. Yeah, this deck I really like. It's one of the ones. Yeah, still it's another one I want to use a lot more. I'm quite into the Fae, and so this seems like an obvious choice to help with workings and things. But yeah, this one's a bit special. This was gifted to me by a friend. Here we go. This was gifted to me by a friend, and I think some of these are out of order. That's a shame. Not sure why that is. Oh, that's a shame. I thought I'd got them all in order beforehand, but you get the backing, and it's the same, the opposite way up. Little fairy faces. Fairy, not furry. Goblinoids. And it's a little bit thin, but still it's a good sturdy deck, a thick deck. And unfortunately this show through isn't going to be in order. But yeah, this one is the blank card I mentioned from the booklet, so that you can do your own picture. If you're connected to the Fae, then you can do a little portrait of one of the beings that you might have had regular contact with, which is a nice little touch. It's like with runes, it's the weird rune. Sort of, it's the whatever you want it to be rune. Well, yeah, these are all. I thought I'd put these in order, which is a shame. Yeah. But yeah, the Singers of the Chalice. Try and angle it so the light doesn't shine off it. And these are all Brian Froud illustrations. Tabirel of the Waters. Yeah, and you've got the face on. There's the lady at the top in the fetal position in the face. Several faces in the background. And the sprites by my index finger. Yeah. Number 54, Epona's Wild Daughters. Yeah, I thought I'd put these in order better. Whoops, my mistake. Sylvanus. Ake the Aeromancer. some of his like Ike there, Ike. Reminds me a bit of the work of Arthur Rackham. Yeah, here we go. Bodacious Bodach. Bodacious Bodach. It looks like he's going to get up to mischief. Number 59. Singer of the Connection. Number 6. Yeah, there seem to be like a bit of a major arcana with illustrations a bit like this that depict more sort of energy forms, sort of elemental energies sort of beings, light beings perhaps. You can sort of make out brief bits of limbs and wings and a sort of head at the top in the deep blue at the top there, sort of a head. The Journeyman. Here we go, the Journeyman. Like the fool about to step off a cliff. The Singer of Transfiguration. The Singers. Yeah, number 11. Arthas the Wild. Try and angle it so the light doesn't get on it properly. There we go. Arthas the Wild. Whoops. Picked up 2 there. What's this one? Undressing of a Salad. Undressing of a Salad. But it's the figure at the top. You can sort of see the gelfling-like face to it. Sort of see what he's worked on before. G the Slow. With extra G's and extra O's. Sorry, this is quite a genuine sort of smile. These are all beings that I believe Brian Froud has seen himself, and yeah, honesty that he's interacted with. Fairies of the Future. Yeah, I really like the Fae. Yeah, it's kneeling on Flyer Garrick. Yeah. The Roar. The Roar. Couldn't quite tell if at the bottom that was W or 2 R's. But the Roar. Roar as in sort of raw meat rather than the roar of a lion. Arval Parrots. Arval Parrots. Yeah, apparently Brian Froud wanted to do a deck quite early on, but he hadn't any real idea where to start. So he'd progressed through his career doing illustrations, and then thought, hold on a minute, I've got illustrations enough for a deck. Why don't I use them? And they're based on actual characters that signify the meaning of several of the cards. The Singer of Intuition. Oh, the Singer of Intuition. Yeah, this is... I don't know, I find the illustrations genuinely wondrous. The Bright's Mother. And I do really like his illustrations. You've got the figures in the background at the top, the face, the little being floating above the mother's head, a little tattoo on a buttock. the crescent moon. Yeah, it's Solus, sun energy being. The flash is 8 points. Like, yeah, this is sort of I'm sort of feeling genuinely relaxed for going through this. It's a deck I should really use a lot more. But yeah, Spirit Dancer. Teom the Poet. Teom the Poet. Looking thoughtful there. The Singer of Courage. Number 8. Yeah, it's the light being sort of stuff as well. Ecstasis. EK stasis. Penelope Dreamweaver. Penelope Dreamweaver. Yeah, there's a lot of wonder. I find there being quite a lot of wonder brought about by these. Was it G Hobjab? G Hobjab. Akel a Huckle. Akel a Orkle. Akel a Orkle. The Singer of Healing, another one of the energy being style ones. Yeah, with this deck, they do recommend. Was it Jessica Macbeth? She recommends. She says she normally would recommend with the deck to pick it up and try and learn it intuitively. What do you see in the picture? Go through, see all the details. What does that stand for? What do you feel it stands for? But with this deck, as they're based on actual beings, read the book, go through the book, learn who the characteristics of each of the beings. So here we go, the fawn. The fawn, you can almost see like a deer head. Just by my index finger you can see one of the eyes, and on the other side. And that being sort of like a mouth or a set of nostrils. Unity. Oi, that's gnome. Sorry, oi, that gnome. I think this is number 26. The next one's number 64. Gaucha. What is it? Gaucha. A collective of pixies. It's trying to get it at an angle where you can actually see it properly, where I'm not angling stuff away from you, or in a way that the light sort of dances off it. Faff the floater. Sorry, faff the footer. set of double Fs in both Faf and Footer. I think I had a spare copy of this. I got a copy of this for myself, and then I got gifted a copy, and the gifted copy, because it was gifted, felt more special because it was gifted. So the copy I'd got, I gifted to someone else. Hopefully they find the fact that it was a gift quite special in itself as well. I don't know, it always adds to a bit of the story of a deck. It sort of, someone picks it out as, this was a gift from a good friend. It adds a bit to the story, and stories can sometimes be magical in themselves. The Oak Ain. Sort of magic sometimes being the act of making something a little bit more special, and something being a gift, or going on a bit of a journey. Sort of, it adds to that. Yeah. I think that's the Maiden, or Aiden. The Lorm. The Lorm. The face. I don't know, he looks to be quite enjoying carrying a fairy around. And it's the extra wing bits just here as well. Or he just seems to not really notice, and sort of like just be on his cheery way going about his business, and not really notice that someone's tagging along for a ride. But Taten the Sylph. The Fairy Godmother. There's the barn owl near the top, and the other being just there. Hold on. Yeah, another little goblin. Baby Yoda. There's another being down here. It's not really. It's it's Baby Yoda. The Guardian at the gate. The Guardian at the gate. Yeah, the font's a little bit difficult to read. But I suppose if you're going through the booklet to try and basically memorise everything, the character of all the fairy, the folk in here that have been turned into illustrations, you'll know. It's, yeah. You have the Dark Lady. Got a bit of moon analogies in that one. Laced Moon's Daughter. Laced Moon's Daughter. Yeah, and it's the light off her wings and stuff, off the back of her hair, or the top of her hair. Indie. The Soul Shrinker. The Soul Shrinker. I think I've read about this bit, and he's a bit unpleasant. Bit of an unpleasant character. Someone you perhaps seems to be a card warning against someone you perhaps wouldn't particularly like to meet. And then we have himself. That's what his name is, himself. probably Hernonus. Or even Oberon. I presume it's Oberon, actually. The Friends. The colours in that. I like the colours in that. Quite bold against the background. The coloration's good on that one. Gluminous Loom. We have Gluminous Loom. Yeah, I'm wanting to use these in conjunction with a few other... This deck in conjunction with a few other things. I've got a few books on fairy magic and stuff. And it's progressively trying to unify some sort of usage between, magic, divination, trying to tie the characters together in there. Yeah. She of the Cruach. She of the Cruach. She as in female rather than ban she. But then again, both are sort of spirit entities, so there could be a crossover between ban, she. And I think the she bit means fairy anyway. But whether that's she as in referring to a female, I don't really know. Iris of the Rainbows. It's putting in the details in the background and stuff. The sort of leafiness. There's a frog in there. Just above her wand hand. Well, wand forearm. And it's the being with the bow and arrows at the bottom as well. The Lady of the Harvest. Yeah, this is another one with a lot going on in the background. La Scuna. The Glancona. Or Glancona. Sort of seems more of a sort of an astral sort of being. I don't know, so like I say astral, it's sort of a fae of the ether, sort of as if it's a space fairy. Traveller between worlds, where you have sort of like fairies that live in woods. You'll have the brownies and hobgoblins that live in homes and stuff like that. Yeah, Glancona seem to be more sort of you even get ones that live at, so you get sylphs and selkies and things like that live in water. Yeah. But yeah, the sage. One-eyed like Odin. I think Odin actually lost his eye, but... Yeah. The green woman. Yes, this is a genuine smile. It's sort of like bringing a sort of a sense of relaxed glee to my face. Ilb the Retriever. Again, it's sort of like almost like an astral fairy. Still a few to go. The Master Maker. I think I've been pronouncing some of these wrong. The M looks a bit like an A in some regards. The only other real sort of I know some might think that the cards are a bit thin, but I don't mind that. Sometimes I quite like lightweight, like a lightweight deck. It's considering the whole deck as one, and it's sort of you're wanting sort of like quite a condensed deck. But yeah, I suppose it's people might not like the borders and stuff as well. You got to almost like it's the torn edge along the picture. Nellis the Alchemist. Nellis the Alchemist. You got the figure down here. The fairy who was kissed by the pixies. And this one's interesting. The Pook. There's the Pook. Now, perhaps short for Pooka, who's an Irish spirit, sometimes seen as a man-sized rabbit, bipedal rabbit, that is to meet travellers on the road in Ireland. Robert Anton Wilson, who is famous for writing the Illuminatus trilogy, is famous for having an experience where he is certain he met a Pooka. And there's an old black and white film with James Stewart in called Harvey, and his imaginary friend, who I think a psychologist starts to have thoughts could exist. That could be a Pooka. So could the rabbit in Donnie Darko. That was a bit sort of trickster-ish. Yeah, and it's the Pooka in Irish mythology was a bit of a trickster, and I think even Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream, he was based on the Pooka. Well, his personality anyway. But so that's all quite interesting. And it's only meant to be seen in a small area, a sort of comparatively small area of Ireland. Seems to be moderately well known throughout quite an area. The feline. The feline. The Singer of Initiation. I need to read up more on these singers. The fact that they seem to be more sort of a light form or energy form. It's curious. Yeah. Here we go. Death. We also have the Piper. Panpipes. Linking to Pan, perhaps. Yeah, he's always seems. Yeah, it's always seemed to connect. You have stuff like the May Queen and the Green Man, Pan, the Horned God. I say the Horned God when he's more related to sort of more of a Pan satyr. Hononus, Sononus. Leader of the wild hunt. When more in that sort of form, when they're sort of hanging around in the woods, sort of I imagine sort of with the banquet, rugs laid out, lots of dancing, lots of wine, lots of feasting, little fey creatures flying around and joining in, perhaps pinching people, taking some of the wine, some of the cakes, little pixies and varieties of different elves amongst the satyrs, amongst the May Queen and the Pan figure. Yeah, and with little goblins perhaps coming out. sort of, like an animistic sort of tree entities coming out and stuff. And it's, yeah. So, I do wonder if there's sort of more sort of like ones that are more of an energy form, or more of a sort of quite a complex light form, because you have will-o'-the-wisps that were meant to be spirits and things, and they were just sort of a ball of light. So, yeah. Again, it's another topic that I want to look into, but we're not here to talk about that. That is a topic for other videos. I'm sure there are several out there, and I should really actually get to watch them. That is a topic for another time, and that can be looked into later. Next, so we finish this off. He of the Fairy Sword. He of the Fairy Sword. The Topsy-Turvets. The Topsy-Turvets. And those are the ones that are sort of used... not quite. But that seems to have been used partly... Well, at least as inspiration for the background. But that's reversible. And the reason I was doing the front... That doesn't look like it's fully reversed. Oh no, sorry. That doesn't look like it's fully reversible. Lease of the Shadows. Lease. It reminded me of a Lease, the name. Reminded me of Ease, but without the L. A city in Brittany that was meant to have washed away. But, there we go. That is the last card. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't better get those in order. A lot of the light entity ones seem to have been put into a group and be some of the earlier cards. But hopefully you would have got a good gist of what all the cards look like. I shall put a link to where you can get that deck just below. As you saw, it had a very, very big, thick book that goes into depth on what each card means, the personality of each of the entities. And this is a deck by Jessica Macbeth and Brian Froud. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to have a bit more of a look through the book now. I wish you all good night and good health. Bye bye everyone.